Mr. President, all across the country right now, people are honoring the men and women who serve in law enforcement as we honor National Police Week. I was co-chair of the Senate Law Enforcement Caucus. Senator Coons and I founded that caucus when we came to the Senate a little over 4 years ago. And I'm proud to be able to speak on behalf of those who serve and their families. I just had a meeting with the Federal Law Enforcement Association talking about the challenge of these jobs and the challenge to families, the importance of understanding the moment you're in. One of the observations I made to them, going back to some legislation I worked on a few years ago to allow police officers to carry their weapons when they went from state to state, is that you may not remember everybody that you arrested, but everybody you arrested remembers you. And the vulnerability of police and their families is sometimes equal and sometimes exceeds the vulnerability of those of us that the police every day step up to protect. This is a week when we really take a moment to recognize that. We take a moment to recognize those who serve. I want to pay tribute today particularly to two Missouri officers who were killed in the line of duty last year. Deputy Sheriff Matthew Chism of the Cedar County Sheriff's Office and Officer Eddie Johnson Jr. of the Alton Police Department. Deputy Sheriff Chism of Stockton, Missouri was tragically killed in November of last year. He was 25 years old. And Deputy Sheriff Chism was shot and killed while conducting a traffic stop. He'd served with the Cedar County Sheriff's Office for just under 2 years. Deputy Sheriff Chism is survived by his wife, by his young son, and clearly that family has paid a tremendous price for the willingness of their husband and father to step up and defend us. Officer Eddie Johnson Jr. of Alton, Missouri was involved in a fatal vehicle crash while responding to a structure fire October the 20th of last year. In addition to being an officer with the Alton Police Department, Officer Johnson also served as the fire chief of the volunteer fire department and as a reserve deputy for the Oregon County Sheriff's Department. He was 45 years old. He's survived by his wife and their 3 children. So, difficult things happen to those who serve. We saw 2 of our officers, the St. Louis County police officers at Ferguson, Missouri, that were shot recently as someone was shooting into a crowd. They're expressing concern about police activity, but the very people trying to be sure that that crowd was able to express that concern were then the victims of violence that not yet been really figured out. Why the person that fired those shots was shooting at a crowd, whether he was shooting specifically at police in that crowd or just shooting into the crowd, or what that person was doing. But people who, the desire of people who serve and put on that uniform every day is to serve and protect. That's their number one goal. I'm confident in virtually every case of taking that job. The number one hope of their family is that those people come home safely at the end of their shift. It's life is uncertain in many ways, but more uncertain when you actually decide you're going to pursue a service to others that puts you intentionally in harm's way. People who are not only prepared to serve, but willing to serve, prepared to stand in the way of danger to others, but willing to stand in the way of danger to others. It's a determination of what to do that other people don't make and don't bear the responsibility in the same way. So it's important for us right now, I think, to think about those who serve. My colleagues, and I was glad to join Senator Cardin as a co-sponsor with others the National Blue Alert Act, the Rafael Ramos and Wei-Jian Liu National Blue Alert Act. This bill created a national alert system to apprehend violent criminals who have seriously injured or killed police officers. These two officers were killed while in their squad car. This alert system would be used to quickly get that information to other police agencies and to the public as you're trying to find someone who would think about doing that sort of thing. We passed that bill on April the 30th. The House of Representatives passed it yesterday. It's now on the way to the president's desk, and a good thing for us to step up and be willing to do. This is a job where you go to work every day not knowing what's likely to happen that day. We saw events in my home state, in Ferguson, Missouri, last August that brought attention to the danger that police face. I heard even the president talking about Baltimore just a few days ago made the comment that we have difficulty in communities and difficulty in people's lives, people not prepared for opportunities and they don't get opportunities. And the president said something like this, and then we send the police in to these environments and we act surprised when bad things happen, when unfortunate things happen, when violence occurs, when police are in the middle of a situation that suddenly doesn't work out the way any of us would want it to. Police are dealing with major problems. When I co-sponsored with Senator Stabenow last year the Excellence in Mental Health Act, trying to be sure that we're dealing with people's behavioral health problems like we deal with all other physical health problems. 1 out of 4 adult Americans has a behavioral health problem that's diagnosable, according to the NIH, almost always treatable. And then 1 out of 9 have a behavioral health problem that severely impacts how they function as an individual, according to the National Institute of Health. We had no greater support of that effort to try to begin to treat behavioral health like all other health than the police organizations around the country who stepped forward and said, this is a problem that we deal with all the time, and there are better ways to deal with it than expecting police officers to deal with someone whose behavioral health problem leads them into violence or into another situation. And by the way, people with behavioral health problems are more often the victims of violence than they are the perpetrators of violence, but so often part of what we ask police to respond to. We expect police to be psychiatrists and psychologists and first responders and experts at protecting others. And then we can easily begin to want to question what equipment they used, what uniform they were told they needed to have on for the exercise that they were about to participate in, the public safety moment they were about to be part of. These are hard jobs, and they're difficult jobs that often come into the moment of difficulty in other people's lives. People who, for whatever reason, do something that they would normally not do, react in a way that they might normally not react, or react out of incredible frustration because of the situation they found themselves in. But we expect the police to step forward and immediately be able to respond to that situation in a way that protects others. Does every police officer do the right thing every time? Probably not. Does almost every police officer do their very best to do the right thing every time? Absolutely, they do. It's the exceptions that get attention, as they should. But for those of us who every day benefit in this office, in this building, and in the work we do. I remember on 9/11, one of my memories of 9/11 is I'm one of the last people to leave the Capitol building The police officer who's there telling me to get out as quickly as I can, as she says that to me, I realize as I'm leaving the door to try to get to a safer place, but the police officer that says you need to get out of here right now is still standing at the place she told me you need to get out of here right now. Because whoever else might have been left in the building, she was trying to be sure they got out of the building too. That is what we expect the police to do. That's what their families know every day when they go to work. They may be called on to do extraordinary things. And for those who serve, we're grateful. This is an important week to be grateful to police officers that we see and police that are helping us that we don't see. So I'm pleased to be here, Mr. President, to thank them for their service.